welcome back to Praggers Gaming. I'm Gamer Praggers, and this is Citizen Sleeper. In the last episode, we left it on a bit of a cliffhanger. After helping the flotilla, I'm finishing episode 2 of the Flux DLC Refuge. We sent out the findings that we had to both Helene and to Sol on the flotilla about what we can do, and we now have a choice. We can either purge the Shadow Protocol, or we can evacuate the Eye. Now, I put a poll in the Discord, to which there was a unanimous answer of evacuate the Eye with 3 votes, but I also put the result up on Twitter. No, I didn't. I put it on YouTube. And we had 5 votes there, and it was a 60-40 split to evacuate the Eye, which means we are evacuating the Eye. So, Helene paces, and as you watch her, you realise how young she is and how lost she is in these systems and protocols she has to navigate. You can almost see the strings and ties that bind her, glinting like webs in the wide space of the observation platform. We evacuate the Eye. Helene freezes. Evacuate? She stares at you with wide eyes. She glances at her slate, the Flux data still scrolling. She glances at Sol, who is patiently waiting, patiently listening. If we do this, there will be panic. Chaos. Hundreds will die in the rush alone. She closes her eyes. You both act like this is so simple. What other option do we have? She stares out at the ships beyond the cordon, their vast bulks pinpricked by the flares of welding torches and blinking dock lights. Is that our only chance? You both jump as someone loudly clears their throat nearby. Your eyes jump to the dark entryway that Helene emerged from just minutes ago. What a cozy little meeting this is. A man steps from the shadows, dressed in the same style of Havenage overalls as Helene. And I must say, this is some very incendiary rhetoric you are using, Councillor Helene. You glance at Helene and her face drops. Immediately. Kemp! She curses under her breath. Sol shifts his weight on this crane, but otherwise remains still, like a casual observer. Plotting against Havenage with an interloper! He gestures at Sol. Everyone will be so disappointed. Kemp smiles a bright smile. Some of the councillors had such high hopes for our youngest member. His smile drops. I, of course, never let novelty distract from the importance of experience. Helene stares daggers at Kemp. Enough of this shit, Kemp. You need to see this. She holds out her slate with an outstretched arm. The games are over. No more point scoring, no more lobbying. You and your hardliners need to stop. This is something real. Kemp calmly takes the slate and prods the screen, scrolling through the Flux data. His face betrays nothing, but you see some complex calculation flickering in his sharp eyes. He gestures, and out of the shadows 2 Havenage security officers appear. As they do, both you and Helene take a sharp breath in. They are carrying long, boxy guns. You've never seen anything like them on the Eye. Gloss XPR logos glint along their barrels. These are Ash's weapons, confiscated by Havenage in the smuggling operation gone wrong, and now put to use. Kemp holds up the slate and one of his officers takes it and slips it into a pocket on his vest. He smiles at Helene, then follows her eyes to where they are fixed on the matte black barrels of the officers' weapons. The weapons we confiscated from the spacers? Helene looks at you. From your friends? She narrows her eyes at Kemp. You can't do this. You can't use them. Kemp shrugs. You have just handed me evidence that the flotilla has infected this station with the virus. With the Shadow Protocol that threatens the life of every Havenage member, every person on the Eye. He gives Helene a dark look. This is not the time for half measures. Helene steps forward without thinking, and immediately the officers raise their guns. Be very careful here, Helene. I don't think escalating this situation will play in your favor. Kemp sighs. You are in the wrong here. Plotting against the council, hoarding data vital to our work. It's all so obvious. You couldn't win power by Havenage's systems, by our laws, so you resort to this? Kemp shakes his head. The law is with me. It is as simple as that. So now, you need to come with me. Sol shoots you a purposeful glance. Now is the only time you'll have. He who lives and runs away? Ash isn't going to be happy. You turn and run, but as you do, Sol twists one of his arms, snapping something on his suit. A burst of pressurized gas jets out, clouding the room in a choking cloud. You put your head down and aim for where a door once was, now clouded in a greying mist. Then something crackles blue through the grey, like lightning inside a cloud. The weapons. You stumble into another body in the haze, and both of you tumble through a doorway. It is Sol, and you stumble and limp together, mindlessly through corridor after corridor, until that crackling sound is no longer echoing in your ears. You catch your breath together, Sol wrenching his suit back into shape and leaning heavily on his cane. I assume that wasn't part of the plan, Sol coughs. Certainly gave some life to proceedings, though. Are you okay? Sol pats his suit, his hands trembling. As okay as usual. He straightens up. I'll be honest with you, Sleeper. None of this changes anything for me. The Pilgrim Seed will be going into a handful of cycles, whether Havenage wants it or not. How many can you take? Sol grimaces. I don't know right now. Depends how the work goes. On who wants to come. People won't want to leave their home, Sleeper, even when death is bearing down on them. I know that all too well. Sol puts a hand on your shoulder. There's a berth for you, and for any you can gather, Sleeper. That much I owe you. And Helene? Even if she made it out of that, Sol gestures back down the corridor, I wouldn't hold out of much hope of her coming around, Sleeper. She's too tied up in all of this. It won't let her leave, even if she wants to. He eyes you. Hell, I'd say the same about you, but you have a habit of proving me wrong. Sol glances back down the corridor. Now I think we better clear out. I'm not sure those officers won't come looking. My crew will meet me at the edge of the cordon, so I'm good from here. Sol leans on his cane. Oh, and thank you, Sleeper, for sending the data. I appreciate the extra info. I'll see if it can help us shore up the Pilgrim Seed against any future Flux events. We will be leaving as soon as we're able. If you want to help us get there faster, well, you'd be welcome. He meets your eye. If we had you back on Ember's hearth. He pauses, suddenly losing his appetite for discussing the past. Well, he smiles. Just don't keep me waiting. And he limps off down the corridor towards the edge of the cordon. You pause for a moment and let your thoughts catch up. Peak will want to hear all about this. They should be your first point of call. Okay. Right, how are we? We've got 4 scrap. Just seeing if we can do anything new in the Havenage offices, but it doesn't look like we can. And there's nothing in the shipyard. Yeah, we can't do anything there. And they're about to return. Okay. Let's go and give the good news to Peak. As you enter the climbing briar, you immediately have to jump aside as Ash, lugging a massive crate across the cargo bay, pushes past you, grunting an apology as she does. Reminds me of when we met. Ash sniffs and doesn't look back. As you turn back to the bay, Peak pushes past too. Sorry, Sleeper, just a second. Peak rushes to catch up with Ash. Put that down, please, Ash. But she doesn't respond to their urging. We can't leave, not yet. Peak puts a hand on her shoulder. Please. I'm the only one here who can. The crate drops, the sound of its impact echoing against the bay like thunder. Can do what, Peak? Her eyes are burning with anger. Save this place? Are you still that naive? We are running, Peak. We are running because this thing cannot be stopped. It couldn't be stopped at XPR, at home. Why would we stay to stop it here? Because we can, Ash. We can give these people a chance. Peak pleads with her. Like they gave the refugees a chance? Ash shakes her head. No, Peak. This is not on us. We barely made it out of XPR. I worked for years to escape, and now you want to throw it all away? I left everything behind. My mother, my friends. To take you out of that place? She clenches her jaw. She turns and slams her hand into the crate, breathing hard. We go. That's the end of it. Pete turns away. You feel unsure what to do, but you know now is not the time for outside arguments. This is between them. Pete crosses the bay back towards you. I'm sorry you had to see that, Sleeper, they sigh. Let's talk upstairs. Pete leads you to the entry ladder, taking you up out the bay and into the habitation level of the ship. You follow them through the tight corridors, noticing the handwritten notes, the clutter, the repairs, the signs of a home. Here, sit. Pete gestures to the broad mess table with its curved couches, and you slide in on one side. Pete sits opposite. They brush their hair out of their eyes and take a deep breath. So, how did it go? What did they say? I've been waiting your cycle. Pete nods slowly as you tell them about Sol's plan to equip the Pilgrim Seed to take as many refugees as you can from the Eye. You admit you don't know how long you have before he leaves. An evacuation? Pete shakes his head. Their head. It's insane. Sol surely knows this can't work. Pete looks down. He just wants to keep running, to hold on to what he has. I can't blame him. They meet your eye. What did Helene say? Pete looks increasingly troubled as you tell him about the hardline counsellor, Kemp's sudden appearance, about the XPR embossed guns and the resulting chaos. You admit you don't know what happened to Helene. Pete is silent for a moment. Those are Esh's guns, right? The ones she smuggled out of XPR on this ship? The ones she didn't tell us about? Pete looks desperate. I can't be sure. Pete shakes their head. How many XPR weapons can there be on the Eye? No, this is them. I know it. Esh, Pete whispers to themselves. Pete takes a deep breath. Then we can't be sure that Helene can help us at all. If Kemp has taken her, or if the Council looks on your meeting darkly, Pete nods softly, then this is on us. What's on us? Ash is standing quietly in the doorway listening. You don't know how long she's been there for. Pete looks up at her with tired eyes. Sleeper found the weapons you smuggled from XPR. Ash freezes. She glances between you and Pete as if this might be some elaborate joke. Havenage used them? Ash moves out of the doorway and enters the room. What happened? Pete interrupts. The hardliners within the Havenage Council used them. Ash. Against their own members. Ash shakes her head. Good. Anyone in that corrupt mess deserves what's coming to them, she grimaces. But they should never have laid their hands on those weapons. If I'd have known... Pete goes to speak and then decides not to take the bait. They glance at you. I'm sure you've heard enough of us arguing this cycle, Sleeper. Pete shoots a look at Ash. But our introduction of those weapons into the equation are just another reason why we cannot simply run away. Ash looks away but says nothing. She surely knows they cannot absolve themselves of responsibility here, so what is motivating her? You realise that she still might be trying to protect Pete, even from themselves. Suddenly, a shrill beeping fills the room and Pete pulls out their slate to silence it, but as they do, they freeze, their finger hovering above the screen. The beeping continues its insistent pulse. What? Pete doesn't seem to hear you. They blink with glazed eyes at the slate. Then they let out a long exhale and tap the screen. The bleeping shuts off, leaving a ringing silence behind. Ash frowns at Pete. Planning to explain? 12 cycles. Pete looks vacantly up from you both. 12 cycles until the next Flux event. They shake their head. I've been using the arrays on the Briar to look towards the centre of the system to approximately where the CAN channel should be. Just this moment they detected a signal from the inner system. Given the distance and pattern of previous Flux events, we have 12 cycles before it reaches the Eye. The silence in the room is deafening. 12 cycles. That's it. Before a second wave hits, and this place... Peek interrupts your thoughts. We start now. That's the end of it. Peek stands up to face Ish. You want to take the Briar and run, Ish? That's on you. But I won't do it. They take a deep breath. I'll be here, Sleeper. For every cycle it takes, trying to find a solution. I'll need your help. Their eyes meet yours, and you see a wild desperation flickering. There. We will find something. The sooner we have the plan, the better. If it takes us 12 cycles to fix this thing, it'll be too late. Peek's eyes flash with determination. They reach for a slate and pass it to you, so we can keep in touch. You pocket the thin handheld terminal. And Esh, Peak starts, but she is gone, storming down the corridor of the ship on a path to who knows where. You know from experience that it is impossible to outrun your fears, but you get a sense that Ash will try anyway. Peak rubs their red eyes, staring after Ash. Maybe I'll take a moment before we start. They smile weakly, tears of exhaustion gathering in their eyes. See you back here soon, okay? And you slip from the room into the corridor. Peak's quiet sobs somehow carrying through the ship behind you as you leave. Yikes. Okay. Right. Okay. So we can come up with a plan in time. That's fine. Okay. We'll work on Pilgrim Prep. No. Oh. As you stop to rest in one of the Pilgrim Seed's cavernous bays, hopping up to sit on a supply crate, you hear a now familiar voice behind you. Sleeper, glad you are here. Sol's suit hisses as he clanks up towards you. I knew you'd help us out. We sure do appreciate everything you do for us. No worries. I do mean it, Sleeper. He looks away down the bay to where sparks jump from welding torches. It's a grim job to be doing without a few friends around. Sol settles beside you, flinching a little but making himself comfortable on the crate. Seems the word got out, this way or that. He nods towards the welders a little way off, one of them wearing shipyard overalls. We've had people flowing in from the eye, looking for a place. In truth, it's more than I thought, Sol sighs, which means more mouths to feed, more bodies to house, more people to protect. Can we do it? Sol frowns. We'll do what we can, as always. I'm not sure any of it can be enough. He looks down. We were supposed to stay here, not keep running. Sol waves away the thought. Don't listen to me. He gives you a sideways glance. Just a tired old man. He stretches. I have something to ask, though. Something new? Sol shakes his head. Not so much. Old matters, mostly. With all these evacuees... Well, we need a change in plan, he shrugs. Pilgrim Seed can't do it alone. We need the others to help out. We can carry them, house them, but that's all. Now, you settled down the folks from Interstellar, and they sent us supplies grown in those dust houses of theirs. If we could get more, he nods to himself. And then the song crews? What we need from them is scouting and security. We don't need that docking access of theirs, but with some careful scavenging, they could be our fleet. These folks, they know you, Sleeper. You earned their trust already. He put a hand on their shoulder. On your shoulder. I sent my requests out and they seem to be complying, but I need you out there making sure the work gets done. Time is our greatest enemy now. Sol stares into the distance. I need you out there, speeding things up. Of course. Sol nods. All right then. He climbs off the crate, his suit hissing as he does. Think of it this way. Either way, you won't have to deal with me much longer. He smiles his uneven smile, unless of course you were planning to come along for the trip. I'm considering it. Lots to think about, he winks. Just don't let it get in your way. Sol waves a hand and starts off towards the base entrance, the crackling sound of the welding quickly covering up his clanking suit. You watch the workers, the shipyard, contractor, chatting among them, already looking like he belongs. You push the thoughts of escape, of home and of the future to the back of your mind and get up. There's always more to do. You better head to the other ships in the flotilla to see what can be done. Okay. Let's go Ember Song. The docking access is in chaos when you arrive. The staccato bursts of welding torches, the shouts of crews gathering, the rapid flow of supplies and kit from dock to dock. You can tell already that news of the flotilla's imminent departure has reached this place before you. Come to join the Exodus, Sleeper. Peter approaches you from one of the working crews, a smile on his face and a lightness in his step you haven't seen before. What's happening? Peter gestures to the chaos. The singers are rising, Sleeper. Peter eyes you. I suppose you were here on Sol's orders again? He winks at you. Nothing Ember's Hearth like to do more than ordering people around. I'm here by choice. Fair enough. Just your timing seems to always be a cycle or two after we get some request from the Hearth ship. He shrugs an exaggerated shrug. Must be a coincidence. Well, Thal has it lucky anyway. His request for us to dismantle the Axis and be the vanguard for the flotilla's onward journey to the Starward Belt aligns perfectly with our plans. To leave this damn place, of course. We've been prepping ever since the core had collapsed. If we can build our escape and make the Hearth ships think we're complying with their orders at the same time, then it's 2 in 1 for us. Peter shakes his head. Those idiots will never see it coming. You can't abandon them. We're our own flotilla, Sleeper. Peter looks away at the busy Axis. We aren't going to tie ourselves to Heart and Step any longer. Why would we? To help them, Peter scoffs. They are taking on evacuees from the Eye, that's what I heard. So how about they help themselves before they ask us to make up for their bad decisions? Peter looks down. Look, nothing against you or yours, Sleeper, but we have to get out from under the shadow of Step and Hearth, and this is the time. Peter grimaces. We won't let that Flux catch us again, not a chance, and for the first time you see fear in his eyes. Want to help us make that leap? Grab a torch, talk to a crew. You're welcome to it. Peter sniffs. Every person here is free to prove themselves. I'll help when I can. Just to stop on the road, Sleeper. I'm afraid that's all this was. Peter glances out past the docking access, through the outer windows to the stars beyond. A lot of space out there for those willing to take it. He looks you in the eye. I hope you'll be around before we go, but if not, he smiles. Stay strong. And with that, Peter thumps you on the shoulder and heads back to the crew, with a purpose, a direction visible in every step of this rapid stride. Oh dear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's 13 dice minimum, if we get the right rolls. I knew you'd come. Aki greets you outside the dust house, her eyes as bright as always. You are very welcome here, as always. Good to see you, Aki. Aki smiles, and you, Sleeper. Aki puts her hand on your arm. Walk with me. And she guides you past the dust houses. You look inside and see other members of the crew working in the orange dust, planting and tending to the steppe ecosystem. We are to be the supplies for the evacuees, I am sure you've heard. We will put the dust houses to use. She leads you past a dust house where the dust is less, the orange glow not as bright, and the air a little more clean. We are adapting, slowly. But we are adapting. We have to produce food, clothes, necessary things for the journey ahead, she smiles. The plants of steppe are once again sustaining a population, and that makes me proud. Aki stops at a half-empty dust house. Scoured of its sand, it is being filled with mulch. We brought this from the greenway. She stares at the green and brown, a strange sight, even to you, now that you are used to the amber dust of the steppe. I admit, it is hard work for us. We are not familiar with these plants. Can you help us? Aki meets your eye. I will do my best. Thank you. She nods solemnly. I know that the eye is suffering, and that it is at risk. I know what that is like. Thank you. I wish I had a lesson to share with you from our loss on Steppe. She shakes her head, but for the moment I cannot see what that might be. She gathers herself. If it gives you meaning, the work here is steady and worthwhile. But if you do not have time, she smiles a weak smile, I will not blame you. Hold on to your memories, but not too tightly, she pauses. Sadness will not sustain you. She falls silent, and you both watch the work in the dust houses for a while. You can already see a greening fringe of moss on the mulch in the dust house, the first signs of new life. Will you soon be like the people of Steppe, leaving behind a home? Or will you be stubborn and hold your ground, despite what it might mean? You wait a little longer with Aki, the moment a welcome suspension in time. A rare moment in this rush towards an end. You glance at Aki, and she puts a hand on your shoulder in solidarity. After a short while, Aki sighs. It is good to see you, Sleeper. Perhaps we will see each other again before we depart. She walks away, fingertips brushing against the glass of the dusthouse windows. Aki turns back for a moment, as if she wants to say something, then thinks better of it and turns away. So that was 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So 4 cycles. 4 cycles and we could have everyone sorted, but it's not going to be 4 cycles, is it? Because we've got not enough dust for that. Cycles. Dice. Yes. Okay. I think... Are any of them safe? I don't think they are. So 2 becomes 4, doesn't it? Okay. And then I think what we'll do is we'll put the plan in place. Or at least get some. Okay. Right. Self-repair. And we will rest. Okay. That's a good lot of dice. No, not that one. I want this one because we need food. Okay. Right. Let's... Yeah, I didn't think that was gonna happen. Yikes. Okay. It's a tricky one, because there's a possibility that Pilgrim are going to end up Song are going to just screw everyone over. And I'm not... I don't know how I don't want to help them. I feel that everyone should work for the betterment of everyone. A little idealistic maybe, but I don't know, unless we help them. That's not a good sign. We'll max out on energy. We've got the money for it. Oh, no. There we go. Okay. Peak beckons you over the wide mess table where they have set up a terminal. The hours of bleary-eyed work have left you both drained, and Peak looks ready to collapse. You slide onto the curved couch beside them, something dark and malevolent filling their screen like an oil stain. The Shadow Protocol? Not quite. Peak eyes seem to glitter in the screen light. This isn't what you think, Sleeper. Not by a long shot. You look again at the screen, leaning in close to the dark curved shape to see its texture. You see whirls and currents like a river. A dark flow, unlike the Shadow Protocol's dark tangle. You know exactly what this is. You have swum in this river, almost drowned in its shifting flow. It is the Gardener's Chorus, the dark cloud which blankets the Greenway's networks, a bioorganic morass of a multifunctioning protocol grown vast and strange. The Gardener. Pete glances at you. How do you... They pause. Have you met them? I have. Pete shakes their head. Incredible. Then perhaps you won't be surprised by what I am about to propose. Peak meets your eye. Everything I've tried to do to contain the shadow protocol has been a failure. It slips through any containment, absorbs any countermeasure. That, unfortunately, is an unavoidable fact. And yet, the eye still spins. The shadow protocol is being slowed, partially contained. It has spread across the station, as we have seen, but in reduced pockets, in fragments. So I started to look outside of our test cases, outside of these fragments. We have been poking and prodding in our little lab. Peak smiled. And look what I found. Peak taps a key on their terminal, and you realise the screen is showing a recording of the data flow inside the eye's networks, sampled from hundreds of points around the greenway. You watch as a subtle shift occurs at the edge of the flowing dark curve that blankets the greenway. Something spreading like an ink stain, somehow darker than black, it bleeds across. The shadow protocol. Now watch. Peak eagerly points at the screen. You see something strange. A fizzing at the edge of the shadow, a sparking, and then it's gone. And beneath, for a moment, a millisecond, you see the networks of the greenway. You are reminded of an image you had forgotten, of pulling a plant from its pot and seeing a bone-white root ball where you expected to see dark soil. The white connections writhe like worms, and then it is gone, the dark flow closing up as quickly as it opened. It dissolves the shadow. Exactly, Peak nods. It protected itself. You think back to your meeting with the gardener, to that sense of something old and world and inhumane to its core. Peak excitedly starts to explain. This is the only chance we have, the only countermeasure we have seen. In the moment it opened, I detected something, a centralized intelligence with the local ID, Gardener. This protocol, this system, whatever it is, can protect its network from the shadow protocol. But if it stays in the greenway, the eye will still fall. The station systems are too exposed, too spread across the hub. The shipyards, the spokes. Peak glances away. The only way is to break it open, to spread the entity's network, access it. To spread the entity's network, access it, expand it somehow. Peak pauses. You want to let the gardener out? Peak stands up and walks away a little. They lean against the countertop, their head hanging so low that their long hair touches the work surface. You hear them breathing deeply. I don't know, Sleeper. They lift their head. I really don't know. It's okay. Is it? They are angry. Is it okay that we have to decide this? To attempt this alone? You know as well as Peak that this is it. You know it because over the past cycles you have run every simulation, every possibility you could think of, and still come up with nothing. You have stared a hole into your screen and dreamt of that black shadow creeping in at the edges of your vision. Peak recognises the look in your eye, the potent cocktail of resignation and anger. Let's say we do this, Peak begins, eyeing you carefully. What do we need? They begin to answer their own question, thinking out loud. I suppose we'd need to do two things. Find a way to limit or control the gardener's spread, and then reconnect the greenway. Peak starts pacing. The idea is coming quickly now. Controlling the spread means preparing the station. Limit the gardener's network to key systems. We don't want it taking everything, we just need it to protect the station's core functionality. Then we need to reconnect the greenway, hook it back up to the main line of the network. Those systems we prepared, they should connect. And Gardener will spread along the paths we prepared. At least that is my theory, Pete grimaces. But if we don't prepare correctly, the Gardener might not spread, or it might spread to everything. Pete closes her eyes. And after that, things might get worse. It can't be worse than a total collapse. Don't say it, Sleeper. Peak sits back at the terminal and brings up a map of the eye. Rotational control at the hub, life support at the free spoke, power routing at the haven and shipyards. They stab at the map with each one, marking them in red. Then there's the central core. As I understand it, it's somewhere on the rim. I'd need to find it. They push their hair out to their face. We seek the Gardener in all these places, Peak pauses. But how are we going to do that? Transplant the greenway. Peak smiles. Of course. The garden needs plants to care for. That is what their protocol dictates. They must have been part of the farming management systems of the Eye, back when Solheim built it. We seek greenway plants into those systems, and the gardener will seek them out, protect them. Peak stares at the map of the Eye. It's a wild idea, but it could work. But, they pause. We'll need a way into those systems. Havenage have most of them locked down for the safety purposes. We can't just walk in. I know a guy. Peak raises an eyebrow. Someone in the Havenage systems team? You nod. After everything he dragged you through, you feel like Feng still owes you. Time to pay him a visit. Okay, well, Pete looks at you sideways. I guess we should pay him a visit. Lead the way. You both leave the ship, carried forward by the excitement of the plan and an eagerness to not look at the details too closely. You push any lingering questions to the back of your mind. Time to head to Feng's Bay. Okay. Okay. But unfortunately, we're over time. So we're going to leave it there. I probably should have waited on that. But thank you for hanging out. We are very, very close. Within 12 cycles, we will have finished this. I don't know if we're running or what. Or staying on the eye. But we shall see. So for now, I'm just going to say thank you for hanging out. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, ticking the bell so you know when new videos go live. In the description is a link to the channel Discord. Feel free to come and talk about the games you're playing, the games I'm playing, games in general. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.